Well, this is 1 week later, and I am going just absolutely bat crap crazy, stir crazy. Yeah, so I've been digging through all the boat stuff, looking for projects and things I'm never going to do, you know, and things that catch your eye, like that old slick craft right there that has a 6-cylinder Merc on the back, more 6-cylinder Mercs. Oh yeah. If it wasn't so small, I'd already have it in the garage. Of course, this is all just a waste of time because I'm not going to do any of it. Well, maybe I'll get that one. So I got to do something. I'm just, it's killing me, So I'll take my current ride for a jaunt to see if I can't find a box of parts I can stick together. At least I'm moving, At least I'm moving around. Well, I found this box. I'm not quite sure what it is. The one thing I am sure of is I've never put one of these together. But I don't recognize that air filter. I guess what I got to do first is figure out if I've got a puller set up for the crankshaft. And if I've got one that'll work, I guess I can put this together. If not, well, then I'll have to go find a different box. Well, it looks like I got the right puller. And I'm not sure I have everything else. We'll kind of wade our way through this thing. Through my Percocet haze. Pretty close to what a song once said, right? Purple haze. It looks like the crank has the 8mm like a Husqvarna has on the flywheel side and the same clutch side that the larger steels have. So that being the case, I think I can actually stick the cases together. I think that's a good place to start, right? I got to get moving. I got to get doing something. I'm going freaking stir crazy. That was a brutal last couple of days for me. I've heard all kinds of stories of everything from it should be really easy to horror stories. Mine kind of somewhere in between. Once I got out of the damn hospital, it's been not bad. Well, for the most part, I think I'm doing okay. I'm going to assume they're for the cases. 25mm. No, they're 25mm. Yeah, so that's pretty much the same as you have in the bigger saws. I think the first thing I'm going to try to do is pull the crank through the PTO side and see if that works. A couple of comments though before I get too far into this. There's all the commentary about the Chinese parts and everything from intellectual property theft to copies, this, that, and everything else. And I don't know, I've got a fairly, I don't know what to use approach to dealing with this. I don't think I want to buy a complete saw built by the folks over there. I really don't think I want to do that. That kind of crosses a boundary to me. And I know this is not something that's rational, but number one, the people who have to do complete saws have got to deal with liability and EPA and I mean, there's just a lot of things that the people who are manufacturers have to deal with, that if a person wants to be in that market, I think they have to, in my mind, to be fair, deal with the same kind of things. Product liability and stuff like that. Now, aftermarket parts, yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, things like chain brakes and stuff like that, I really think need to be subjected to the same kind of scrutiny. I really do. But certainly cosmetic parts, I don't think so. And I don't see that as theft of property either. And there's a lot of reasons why. you can buy almost complete motors that are effectively Harley Davidson copies, you know. And the aftermarket business actually helps a saw that's no longer current in the product line, you know, be sustainable after the manufacturer itself has lost interest from a business perspective, you know. So I mean, I see reasons why having the aftermarket pick up on the older obsolete saws is actually an advantage, not a disadvantage. And I think there's people in the steel community, if they think about it rationally, having these parts around, especially for things like the 660s, basically it has extended the useful life of that saw for quite some time. So it's really not a bad thing to have, you know, aftermarket part support. Now I know the dealers are going to go nuts and the company's going to go nuts. That's part of the steel culture. They like to control everything. I understand the business models and I understand the rationale behind it, and it's not something that, you know, I can say is good or bad. And I hear these people yelling and screaming, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that, it's right or wrong. But shoot, you can buy entire body panels for some of the earlier pickup trucks and stuff from the same era of some of these saws. Nobody complains about that, and there's no legal issue about that either. It's just, if anything, it's a good thing for the enthusiast. So I guess somewhere in the middle there, these saws fall into that analysis for me, where, yeah, I mean, on the older saws, I wish there was more of this stuff. Husqvarna 288s and, you know, some of the other ones, I just wish the rumors would turn into reality. That series of saw, even though they're an older saw, you know, it's really kind of cool to have a supply of parts around to keep them running, because people actually still use them. Plus, they're a great saw for the enthusiast. Husky 254s. I wish there was more support for those. I mean, I really enjoy that class of saw. Now I understand the business model says that there's probably not enough of them around and not enough interest. But my whole point is, you sort of can't pick and choose and say it's okay for one class of product and not for the other. If aftermarket is okay for cars and motorcycles, why isn't it okay for chainsaws? And so why is it any different? And I don't think it is. Lawnmower parts, stuff like that, there's an awful lot of dealers that will take an aftermarket carburetor and shove it in a saw long before they go OEM. So I just don't see it. I don't see it as an issue. And I think what it boils down to is if a person doesn't like them, don't buy them, that's all. Now I do have issues and will have issues for the people who will try to build these things and make a business of selling them online. I don't condone that, I don't recommend that, and I don't even like that. I don't mind having people repair saws with these parts if they're disclose what it is they've done clearly, so the person who's getting that repair understands what it is they're in fact buying. I don't have a problem with that kind of thing either. If a person goes into effectively the saw manufacturing business by assembling these things and selling them as a saw, that's where I have a problem. And I'm a little surprised that that goes on without more pushback, blowback from the manufacturers, to be honest with you. Because they're selling them as if it's a new saw, and it really isn't. It's a collection of aftermarket parts, and that's something less than what these saws were when they were current in the product line, you know, manufactured and sold by Steel, Husqvarna, whoever saw it is you're copying, you know. That's where I started getting bound up. It's that point, and my nervousness about the concept kind of sits in between short blocks and complete saws, for lack of a better explanation. You know, these tools of us work beautifully, and I'm beginning to get feedback from the folks that have them, and I'm going to expand the line quite a bit. but it's very extensible for a fairly low amount of money. I mean, I basically build and sell additional threaded rods with additional threads up there for like 25 bucks plus shipping, and the bushings for about the same. So one of the beauties about this whole concept is it's really, really modular that way, you know. And when I start adding the more bushings to the system, to where people can use the bushings for other things, I think the whole idea of the designs is going to become more clear. Because you think about it, the standard shop tools from Husqvarna cost 35 bucks, maybe 40 bucks. So at a minimum, I can't be too much past that. Otherwise, why would a person spend that kind of money when they can just, especially for one saw, they can go to Husqvarna and effectively get the same thing, you know? And then for every additional bushing, another 25 bucks. So theoretically, maximum $50, $75 if you can't use the same bushings for additional saws. And then when we start getting into the bearing pulling and pushing bushings, when I'm comfortable with my design for that, I kind of had to back off a little bit because I just haven't had time to do the development on that to where I can make them in a cost-effective way. Then the nature of this whole system begins to become more clear, and there's nothing to keep you guys from adding your own capabilities, you know what I'm saying? Why not? Make your own bushings. Get your own stack of washers to start using this concept and do other things that are related to taking cranks and, you know, bearings and stuff and putting them in and out of saws, other motors even. I think the only thing I've done different is I'm trying out this handle with a little thinner material, and interestingly enough, it's because of availability, not because of trying to save money. I just have a hard time getting that thicker wall material that I can run right down to Tractor Supply. This stuff is always on the shelf. So I'm going to probably ship the next couple of these with that handle, and as everything else I do, if a person doesn't like it, I'll just do something different, you know. Send it back and I'll go find some thicker material. But if I can get away with it, make it work, it's better for me. Doesn't really matter much from a cost perspective, but it's from a material availability. And the other thing I've been doing is when I start building these crankjacks themselves, instead of just doing one at a time, is I'll set up and I'll do like 4. And the funny thing is that every time I've done that, and I mean every time I've done that, every one of them gets sold that very week. So it's been kind of a funny joke on me, I think. Let's see if this prolapses when I take this final set of steps here. Okay, it's all the way down. And let's see if we have a bearing installation that's done acceptably good. Yeah. Looks to me like it went right in there. There's 1/2. So this is just a bushing that I use for the Huskies. Just a very simple bushing. Because since the seals are already pushed in there, I can't push on the inner race. And it went in perfectly. By the way, these are 2 that I've kind of cast away. I keep the worst of the parts for myself. That's what I've been doing for quite some time. And all the better ones that look nicer go out to whoever buys them. And part of the reason I do that is just to show that, in fact, is a flexible enough design that even if they're not perfect, they still work. You know, what has been revealed to me is randomly picking up a box, I've ended up with a MS-361 box saw. It's a clone. And so far, what I've been seeing for parts looks nice. The cases, like usual, look nice. I gotta tell you something, guys. The Husqvarna 372 cases they produce, the ones that I've dealt with now, I guess I've dealt with a pair of them, were excellent. Not just good, they were excellent. And on the Husky, I like the fact that they have a larger diameter locating pin with a steel sleeve. I like that. I'm going to squeeze this set of cases together right here, and along with a commentary about what I've seen with the cases, and especially the Husqvarna cases. I've been very impressed. By the way, when you do stuff like this, you see how you got to hold that connecting rod so it doesn't get in between the cases? I mean, you can wreck a nice set of cases if you are not careful there. So let me just wind this together, and then I'm going to set I've got the screws set right in there for alignment on the gasket and things like that. And what I also do is if I get down to where I see one half the cases is not going in straight, sometimes I'll take those case screws and I'll wind them in just a little bit to straighten up the cases to make it go together nice and even. And I'm not sure I really need to turn these. I don't think I do. I think I'm just going to wind it straight in. But one thing I did not check, and I hope it doesn't bite me, and that's the clearance of, there's a little brass fitting, this one right here, for the pulse line. And it looks like it protrudes inside just a little bit. It makes me a little bit nervous. Let's see what we have before I wind in all the screws and make sure in fact I've got clearance. Yeah, it does clear, no kidding. It looks good. Alright. This one only has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 case screws. And obviously Steel has done their research and assumed that's enough, right? But that's really it. These cases went together really, really, really easy. And the two crankjacks I used were, this one here is the same as the ones I use on the MS660s. I think that's like a M12x1 reverse. And this is the same one I use on the Husky flywheel side, and I think that's an 8x1 standard. So as people start adding those crankjacks to their set, they can start adding the class of saw that they can actually do work on. But I think this is a good stopping point. What I'm going to do is put this together and maybe go into high speed on the video. And I think I made my point about the modularity of the tools. That's one thing I wanted to cover. And I also wanted to cover where I am on this entire concept of aftermarket parts. And it's clear, I guess there's a little bit of a fuzzy line, but like I said sometime before, and I'm not sure how long before in terms of video minutes, but somewhere between short blocks and complete saws is where I draw the line of saying that I'm not a fan anymore. Extending the life of the OEM counterpart, I think that benefits all of them, including the OEM over time, having that kind of support available. Well, it pretty much went together the way a saw should. I can make some observations. I'll tell you, that crank is a really nice looking part. And the cases themselves, you know, I don't see any fill issues or shrink cracks or pretty much anything. It just looks nice. It's a nice looking part. The closest I see to shrink issues is like right there. But it almost looks like that's not as much a shrink issue as it is somebody with a grinder. Probably taking flashing off or something like that. I found the same with the 372 series. I think where I was going in one of my prior discussions was I would not shy away from the cases for, you know, a way of bringing a dead saw back to life. I've seen a couple of the older 372s, X-Torques and the XPWs with the larger piston, where they basically just shook themselves apart. I don't know if I put it on video. I might do that. I think I did. That one saw that was ruined. Basically the thing shook itself apart. In a case like that, why the heck not get a set of Huztl cases and build it up around that? Why not? That's an absolutely legitimate approach. Absolutely legitimate approach to doing that. So, what's next? Looks to me like this is a typical saw. So you can go a variety of different places. One is you're going to want to get the flywheel on there, and that's so you can do things like check squish. And I like to get the handle on as soon as I can. And really it's about being able to hang on to and manipulate the saw as I assemble it. That's just me. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why people do what they do, but that's how come I do it. So let me shut the camera off and see if I can't identify the parts I need to get the handle on next. How about that one? Take that boat and take the Johnson that's on there and sell it, and then put my 115 on it. And now you have a legitimately cool, fast boat configured the way it's supposed to be. Of course, you never know if the floor is good and the transom's good, and I can't even go see the damn thing because I'm all laid up. Probably a good thing. I'd probably spend some money.